Good evening and welcome to Cavan News and Views. I'd like to say hi to all our people who log on all over the world and watch us every week. Do keep watching us. Well folks, we have a very serious issue to discuss tonight on Cavan TV, and it's the issue of homelessness and homeless people dying on our streets. It is possibly coming up to election time. Is this a good time or is this a bad time for issues like this coming out? We hear so much about it, and as I've been told just tonight, that so much we are not hearing about it as well. Well, as you may or may not know, that next Saturday, the 10th of October, is World Homeless Day. Well, no better man than my first guest tonight, indeed he's been a guest in the studio before, and that's Michael Loughman. Thank you, Michael, for coming in. And Michael is a tireless worker and a great advocate and a great fighter for the homeless, and no better man in Cavan knows any more about the homeless and their plight and their situation. Thanks, Michael, for coming in this evening, and thanks to see you brought in your posters, March for the Homeless, Sleep Out in Cavan. Michael, what's happening? It's got to epidemic proportions.
It's gone beyond that. It's an emergency, and they will not call the emergency. They know if they call an emergency, they're in serious trouble.
Okay, first of all, we'll talk about the worldwide homeless day. So it's worldwide, letting people know about it, designated day to let people know about it. Homelessness has been with us over the years, over the hundreds of years, and it's still there, even in this day and age. Okay, so some people do decide to sleep out. That's their lifestyle. They want to do that, but not now. We have a new sort of part of our society find themselves sleeping on the streets, or indeed sleeping in cars, or indeed sleeping in hotels. Michael, how did it get to this state?
Banks, mortgages, all things like that were causing, families that were running into debt, can't afford it, landlords putting up rents, council not building houses, private rental, all this was going on.
So if there's a bit of fixed rent in there, which there isn't at the moment,
there is nothing
that
there,
would solve maybe some of the issues. But then again, we have the generation of people who mortgaged, got easy mortgages from the bank, got huge mortgages from the banks, maybe much more than they should have had. They weren't able to pay, and they're the new homeless.
They're the new homeless.
They're the new homeless. Young families.
Young families living in hotels and bed and breakfasts.
Okay, we hear a lot about that. Seriously, tell us about who are living in hotels. Is
families.
It as bad as they say?
It is very bad. I was speaking to a young mother lately who is living in a prominent hotel in Dublin. It's $1,300 a month is the rental being paid on it by Dublin County Council. She has the use of one room for herself and her 13-year-old son. They both sleep in the one bed. They have no way of doing a bit of toast, bread and jam, no facilities like that. A modern hotel room has no sockets. There's just a little wire comes out of the wall onto a kettle or whatever. There is no actual plug-in sockets. That's the way they're designed nowadays. So if the kid wants to go out and play, he has to go out on the street. They are not allowed to use the main front door to the hotel. They have to come in and out the back door of the hotel. It's no way for a family to live.
So that's what it's like to live in a hotel room. Can they stay in the room during the day?
No, they're out most days. They have to get up in the morning, get their breakfast and out. Any meal after that they have to provide themselves. So they have to go to chippers or restaurants or wherever they go for their meals, or up to their parents or whatever.
That is unbelievable. So you say
€1,300
a month for bed and breakfast.
For bed and breakfast.
And that's a dreadful lifestyle for anybody living.
I don't understand, why is the council paying it? Can they not give them a house and get them to pay a rent in the house? They'd be saving money.
But sure, you know what's happened with the boom bust situation. There's been no building since. There's been no building since 2009 perhaps, and we have a shortfall of housing now. And listening to the media in the last few days, we see that rent prices are nearly up to what they were in 2009, 2008, 2010. That's if you can get a place to rent. Okay, so we've got the new people. We've got people living in cars. We've got people lying out on the streets. Is this a good time coming up to election to be really highlighting this? Will it get treated properly, or will it be dressed up for the sake of elections? What do you think? I know you don't want to get too political, but what do you think?
It's about the best time to highlight it. I know they'll all make their promises, and when they get into government, they'll forget about it.
That's what you'd be afraid of, you
But
know?
we need to keep the pressure on them.
Yeah.
And once we're getting the pressure on them, you know, that they can maybe do something.
Yeah, and certainly, definitely, the pressure has been kept on about
yeah,
homeless.
yeah.
The same as the water charges. That has kept up and not lost its momentum.
No.
And fair play to you. March for the Homeless. That's one of the groups that are working for the people.
There's 9
Have kept the
charities in
practice
Dublin working for the homeless.
on. Tell me, Focus.
Focus for all the different groups. Does anyone have to come out? They come from Portlaoise every night, and they bring food from Portlaoise, made up themselves, bring it in containers.
This is basic, just
ordinary
Joe Soap
people,
citizens like yourselves.
Off the street and get the containers, and they walk the streets of Dublin looking for people that are homeless, wherever they are, hiding in corners or wherever, and feed them. And if they have a change of clothes, they'll give them a change of clothes.
Yeah.
You know.
So, to let people know exactly what it is to be homeless, you're going to have a sleep out night in Cavan next Saturday, the 10th. Of October in Cavan. Yeah. And of course, for any of us that's going to sleep out on the street for the night, in Cavan TV we will be out on the street, and we're going to talk to some actual homeless people, not from Cavan, but they're going to come down from Dublin, and they'll tell us their real story. And for me, that's exciting to be doing that. But boy, if you can imagine doing that every night and not knowing exactly, and knowing that this is all you have to look forward to every night, is not a nice prospect, Michael.
It's not. As you know, I've done it in Dublin. And to listen to the jeers of the people going home from the pub at night, telling you to get off the street, to get a house, to get a home, whatever. It's not nice. The new game now in Dublin is when they're walking down the street, if they see a sleeping bag, they grab the base of the sleeping bag and run down the street with it.
It's fun.
It's fun to them, but sure, look. So when I was talking to people like yourself and others coming back, and they'd say to me, what's it like? And I was trying to explain, it's hard to explain it, how it is to sleep out like that. So this time we decided...
We're going to see what it's like firsthand. We'll be out on the street and we're going to do it for real. The only thing is, we're doing it to experience it, and they're doing it because they have no other choice.
They have no other choice.
Okay, so like you know these people, you speak with them, you've slept with them on the street. The general perception out there and is like they've got addiction issues, mental health issues. Like which came first, the chicken or the egg kind of thing? I mean, sleeping out on the street every night, I mean, would it lead you to addiction or wouldn't it lead to mental health? How does somebody become homeless?
It can happen both ways. Some people have an addiction and the family put them out because they can't handle them. They're stealing from them, they're causing problems in the house, whatever. Then there is other people who have, like the guy I slept beside the last night, had his own business and he ended up out in the street. And because of the system and red tape, he was self-employed, he couldn't get any assistant. So he had to stay on the streets. And one night on Grafton Street, a guy gave him a drink out of a whiskey bottle. Now that man turned to me that night and he says, that's 15 years ago, I'm now an alcoholic. That's the way it is. He ended up out there. And there's a lot of people like that. They drink, some of them, and they take the drugs or whatever to stay warm. And that's what happened with Jonathan Corrie. Jonathan Corrie froze to death because his blood was so thin.
Yeah, as you know, he was the person who was found dead near the Oireachtas. Yeah.
Beside the dog.
Now that's one thing for homeless men on the street, but there are actually homeless women on the street.
There is homeless families.
Homeless families on the street.
There's a family who sleeps in a tent. They bed down at about 7 or 8 in the evenings between the GPO and Penny's on O'Connell Street. A full family.
Yeah. Do you actually think that anybody's doing that for the fun of it, guys? I don't think so.
Oh, there was a great photo, well, would you call it a great photo, this week up on Darren's page. He does nightly encounters where he walks around the street talking to them, photographing them. And there's a photograph of sleeping bags in the doorway, and all you can see is the two hands wrapped around each other. They're a couple. Yeah. And that's their bed for the night.
Yeah. But there are a very small minority of those people, actually, if you give them a home, they wouldn't stay in it anyway.
Oh, yes,
they want to be.
Yeah.
They
want to be out there.
They want to be homeless. Yeah. They want to be out there. Okay, and then you also have the people where my niece is a social worker, and she had said as well that she works for Focus, and they can't come out and speak about what they do and things like that. But she said you can help somebody only so much, but they have to want to help themselves as well.
They do. A lot of people, when they're in Dublin, they see them, they give them money. That's the worst thing you do, because they'll go and they'll buy drink or drugs. It's their habit. The best thing is go in and get them a burger or something to eat.
And you were saying about donating a pair of boots or clothes or
old
a sleeping
clothes
bag,
that you're going to bring with you.
a thermal to lie, a silver sheet to lie on. Okay, so tell us about Cavan. Now, you are organising this, and Cavan, where are you going to be?
At Johnson Library we're doing it. We were going to do it at the post office because of a Saturday night and the pubs and the crowds in the street.
I'm afraid you'd be getting a little bit too much of what people are like with a few drinks in them.
So for people's safety, we've moved it to the library, where the Garda station is beside us. We have security, we have hospital.
Isn't that great to be able to do that, though? Isn't it great? Because you're safe. Can you imagine if you're actually homeless? You don't have that.
We don't have that. No,
we know. You can run to the Garda station if you're in difficulty, but.
In some places now in Dublin, they're starting to put down spikes on the ground in the doorways to stop them lying there.
Move on, eh?
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
Okay, so on the night, what time's the start now? How many people have you going to sit out?
There's 102 at the moment.
That's great.
That have definitely said yes, and there's 45 maybes.
Like, is this people from around Cavan town, around the county?
They're coming from Monaghan, there's
great.
Galway, Dublin, a person coming down from Dublin. They come from all over. There's one woman coming that walks the Himalayas. Now, why she's coming to Cavan to lie out is a strange one, but this woman has laid a slip out all over the world and she's coming to support the homeless, so it's great to see that. The ages, I'm surprised at. There's so many young people want to do it. You know, that's a big thing. I was surprised at that. When I set it up first, I thought 10 to 15 maybe, and I was very, very happy with that. But when the page started to light up that night, and numbers, God, I couldn't believe it.
Okay, right. I'd love to get speaking to a homeless person to get their story, but can you throw some light into the day of a homeless person? It must be one hell of a long day when you don't have anywhere definite to sit down, and everybody's kind of looking at you. Hey, move on! I don't want you outside my door. I don't want you sitting in my cafe all day. Tell us what they do during the day.
The routine we saw with them in Dublin is they're wakened early in the mornings, either by the guards, the council workers, move them off, or the shop owners coming in, open up early, and they'll move them on. Then they have to get up, find somewhere to hide their sleeping bag or whatever they've slept in for the night, go off and get something warm to drink or beg on the street. This could be 5 or 6 in the morning they start their day, and that's their routine for the day, moving around, be moved on from pillar to post, hoping somebody will give you money or something to eat.
That's a long day by 9 o'clock in the morning when the rest of us are having our breakfast, thinking about a long day at work, isn't it?
There is places that they know they can go, the back of a restaurant, and your man will give them out a burger or something like that, just to get rid of them, move them on.
What is the attitude of people in Dublin? Is it get away from me, or what is the attitude in
Unfortunately,
general?
it is a lot of it.
No kind of people out there at all?
They're kind-hearted, but they have their business. You're going up to a restaurant and you see somebody sitting in the doorway with a cup and that, it puts you off going into. I can understand their side of it. These people shouldn't be on the street in the first place.
They're not allowed to go near the ATMs either.
No, there's brought in some sort of a law now to stop them doing that, because they were coercing people into giving them money, which is wrong too.
Yeah. But you say it's the wrong thing to give them a few bob, but that'll be the kind of like... That'll be the thing.
Feeding their addiction is all they're doing.
But if you see a mother with a child, though, and she said, give me a few pound to buy something for the child to eat, you think, God, 10 euros, so that won't break anybody.
But 9 times out of 10, the money doesn't go to the child.
So they're their own worst victims themselves, aren't they?
A lot of them are, yes.
Enemies themselves.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, your friend in Dublin, what's his name again?
Darren Bradley.
Tell us about Darren. He's really, really shone the light for homeless, hasn't he?
Darren was brought up on the streets of Dublin. Himself, his brother.
Reared on the streets of Dublin.
Brought up on it to the age of 4, I think we'd say, somewhere there. And social services moved in because his mother was a drinker and his father was a drug addict. They took him off of them and put them into a home. When they were 18, they were put out of the home with nowhere to go, no nothing. So they ended up in the street. But in the meantime, their mother and father had actually died on the streets. Darren's brother is still on the streets, an alcoholic and a drug addict. But Darren is off, has a girlfriend, a young son, and is living in Dublin. So when Jonathan Corrie died, he decided to set up this March for the Homeless. Credus is another one of theirs. They've a few organisations they've worked together and try to feed people and help them as best they can. Somebody says to me today, do you want us to donate clothes and that? They have all the clothes in the world. They have nowhere to store the clothes. It's housing. That's the big problem now.
And as you know, the country is in a mess at the moment.
Yeah,
rents are high as they were in 2009 before the bust situation. What can be done, do you think? They're talking about these, what do they call them? Modular buildings. They are glorified prefabs. And of course, we do know where they're going to come from as well.
Yeah, we know. We know where they're going to come from. That's not the problem. The problem is that's a quick fix.
Yeah.
They're put into one of those and put out in the field out there outside where we are, and in 6 months' time they're still there. A year's time they're still there.
Right. To really treat the cause, what would you suggest?
They need a solid house. They need to either start building.
Where are we going to start to get these houses again?
They're there. There's houses within yards of where we are at the moment. I can name you a street in Cavan Town where there's 5 houses boarded up on it. There's one of them actually beside me. You know?
Yeah.
And that's what's wrong.
You're talking about council property,
private properties.
A property, turnkey property that was never, ever used. Yeah.
Ghost estates that are lying empty. Apartments in Dublin that are lying empty.
And now you know the problem with the refugees from Syria. You know they're going to start. We can't solve our own problem, and now we're going to under pressure to take refugees in from Syria as well. So it's all compounding. It's not treating the cause. It's treating the symptoms, but not treating the cause.
They took in refugees before. They're still in Mosney. They're still there.
That's another sad life.
How many years ago has that happened?
Yeah.
They're talking now about bringing the stories around it. They're going into the closed down military barracks, hotels that were closed. Can they not put the homeless into those places in the meantime?
Yeah. But you say in the meantime, that is the problem.
The
meantime is just the meantime, and you say down the years, we still can't leave them living in
No, we need to sort that out.
Yeah. So what starts? Building houses again?
Building houses, open up the houses that are boarded up. If they're paying $1,300 a month for a hotel, surely that will pay for work in a house. Yeah. You know? I can't see the reason behind this.
Well, what about educating the people who are homeless, like to say, look, there's more than this, guys, get out there, Darren Bradley.
Yeah.
The parents were like that before them. They don't stand, God love them, they don't stand much of a chance. But you have to say, look, you can break the mould here, get up and do it for yourselves. Is there a chance for people to do that, really? Or is it next to impossible for them to do?
No, there is chances. I watched a programme on RTE the other night about the homeless. And they were all about the drug addicts and tablets and this and that and that. But right near the end of it, they went to a guy that was born a methadone addict because his mother was a drug addict. Now he's clean and he has a shop in Drogheda where he sells models trains.
We want to hear more of that.
That's
story.
The kind of guy now. Yeah, to me he should have been highlighted.
Yeah.
He was a guy that says to himself, no, I don't want this. And he got himself off it. He's well educated. He has his own little business.
Okay, that's great. Somebody says, I'm not going to do this. I want to do better for myself. Yeah. Is it easier? Or is it actually very hard for them to get the help, to get the leg up that they need to do that?
It is because they have no address, and that's the basic problem. When you have no address,
we can't understand this. Yeah. No PPSI numbers or
they would have
that. Everybody in the country has that.
Yeah, but if you want to get the dole, you have to have an address where they can send it.
Okay. And they don't have an address. Okay.
They don't have an address.
So how does their medical looked after? How do they get medical cards?
They don't.
They just
nothing.
present at an A&E?
They don't. They just, whenever they can get medically treated, there is centres where there is doctors will do work on these people that will try help them free of charge. Okay.
Now we're hearing stories, and indeed during the media all week, mothers with 2 or 3 children, and they're staying in a hotel one end of the city and the school is the other end of the city, children moving around to schools, children not going to schools, compounding the problem as well.
Yeah. And some of them can only stay in the hotels for a certain period, maybe 3 months, and they have to move.
Yeah.
And that hotel could be anywhere.
I'm going to ask you again, how did it get to this state? Who would you blame?
No leadership.
But who is supposed to believe? Who looks after this kind of thing?
Our government.
Politically.
Our councils. That's their responsibilities, to build these things and make sure these things are done proper. But just like everything else was just let lie and don't worry about it, it'll solve itself. But it never will.
There will be many talks, many interviews, many nights out. Will we ever get to solve it, Michael?
We will. We will
Okay,
eventually.
so let's get back to your night. And if there's anybody out there who just heard about this March for the Homeless, we've got a sleep out in Cavan on October the 10th. That's next Saturday night, outside the Johnston Central Library. That's beside the courthouse, and nice and sheltered there, and you're opposite the guard station in case you're just feeling a little bit nervous of sleeping out. Over 100 people, Michael, and we'll be Cavan TV will be there on the night just to get a flavour and a feel about it. And now, okay, if somebody wants to donate money to the March for the Homeless, how do they go about doing that?
Well, to donate money to March for the Homeless, you go onto their page. We are not looking for money or any sponsorship like that.
So there's no money changing hand on this. So don't be coming along with buckets of money on the night. That's not the way Michael's running it. This is to highlight it. And for people, you know, in sympathy and empathy with people who have to live their life like this. And my goodness, it might be fun to think about for doing it for a night, but do you think, like, you'll still be doing it? And we have the winter coming in now as well. Yeah. Fine when it's a mild winter, but my goodness, if we had a winter like we had 5 years ago, minus 20 degrees, the cat wouldn't survive out in that.
The first one I slept in Dublin was in December. I had a thermal sleeping bag, which I have for my fishing and that. I had my full clothes on me and a waterproof jacket, and I was still freezing inside in that sleeping bag.
Of course.
How they done it, I don't know. I was sore for the next 3 days after it.
That's no wonder they drink the neat alcohol to keep themselves warm inside.
It's to knock them out, you see.
Yeah.
So they don't feel the pain of the cold.
It's sort of a revolving door, door thing. Like, you know, it compounds the problems, compounds the mental health issue. On the night, you were saying that somebody kindly sponsored Portaloos for the night.
P&S Smiths has sponsored Portaloos. John Clancy Butchers is giving us some meat to make a meal during the night to make it
You don't mind if people like bring a few guitars along and have a sing out?
No, they can bring guitars, bring biscuits.
So it's okay to make it a nice kind of a atmospheric night as well. Candles and a bit of thought and everything.
Nobody wants them to lie out on the ground with nothing. We're trying to make it as comfortable as possible for them, just to give them a feel of it. You know, you're not going to... I don't want people getting sick over this thing. It's just...
Yeah, and be serious about it, people. Like, if you have an underlying medical condition, don't go to go sleeping out in the streets and blaming Michael if you get sick. No, we don't want that.
No.
So, have any politicians got in contact with you and say, okay, Michael, you're a great man, can I get my photograph taken with you?
Yeah, we've had a few, but it's no.
What do you say to that?
Don't want them.
You're not going to be hoodwinked by that?
If you're willing to get into a sleeping bag and come and join us for the night, that's grand, yes.
And if you want a few celebrities out there to get into the sleeping bags
if they want to come along. But
well, you do with Cavan TV then, that'll do.
Well, no photo shoot for the politician for his votes for the next election or whatever, you know. And at around 9:30...
But seriously, if a politician seriously wants to turn up on the night and do it, you'll accept him at face value.
He's welcome. Yeah. He's welcome, but he's not there as a politician. That's as long as they understand that.
Yeah.
At about 9:30, if people don't want to stay out for the night, we're having a candlelit vigil with some music and song. And I hope a lot of people will turn up for that and just show the support for the homeless. You know?
So even if folks came along to do that, you're going to go right through the night, Michael, and I hear the weather's going to be bad that weekend. Well, much colder than it is now. And you go right through what, till 9 in the morning?
8.
To 8
Around 8 o'clock. Pack up. Now, if people want to go before that, they can. We're not going to stop them, you know.
Yeah.
Whatever they can do. But I'm surprised at the amount of people that want to try it.
Yeah. So the idea is, of course, that you go out, do the challenge and do the hard work and donate your money to March for the Homeless.
Yeah, if they want to donate
Go
money.
online and donate your money. Yeah. Well done, Michael. I say great stuff. Fair play to you. You have brought that issue to Cavan. You know, you're on the ground in Cavan. You've brought it, made people more aware of it. And, you know, it's not until we hear somebody sit down and talk to somebody. It's great looking at it on the television because they're not real people on the television until you know somebody. And there's another thing I'd like to say. I'm jumping all over the place now. But our St Vincent de Paul's shelter in Cavan has closed down the last 2 years because there's no need for it. Is that right? What's the story there?
Well, if there's no need for it, we're in the Crystal Hotel, as you know. There's a lake not too far from us, and I'd say now this time there's a man getting ready to bed down for the night.
Are you serious? Over the Green Lake?
Not the Green Lake, at a lake in Cavan Town. That man homeless man is getting ready to bed down for the night.
There you are. So it is in our own town.
Oh, it is in our own town, yes. Their life was they'd roam around the country. These night shelters.
Does he want a bed, Michael?
Yes.
If you said to him, come on and stay in my place for the night, it's going to be -5.
He'd stay, yes. He would stay.
Okay.
There was a plea went out for stuff for him the other night, and he did get stuff. He got food, he got clothing and things like that. And actually somebody did offer him a room.
So then he moves on then somewhere.
He moved on then a day or two. When they had the night shelter, they paid their, whatever it was, a few euros towards the night, and they stayed the night, had a bit of a meal, and went off to the next town.
Yeah.
The next month. But that facility is gone.
Okay, yeah.
So they have nowhere now. Now they're just come in, lie on the ground or whatever they...
Yeah. Okay, good stuff, Michael. Fair play to you again for getting people, for bringing it to the attention of people in Cavan and bringing it to the streets of Cavan, because it's our problem. We have to know about it and we have to deal with it. And a little helps. We all can do a little to help. Great stuff, Michael. Thank you so much for coming into the studio. Well done. And we'll see you on the 10th of October, Saturday night, outside the Johnson Central Library.
At 8 o'clock.
At 8 o'clock. Okay, folks, that was quick and short and sweet tonight. That was Cavan TV News and Views. So don't forget, if you have any news or views you'd like us to know about, please email us your news and views, or even your nice photographs with a story, to drumlinmedia@gmail.com. So I have a great programme lined up for you next week. One of my previous guests on Cavan TV, Marilyn O'Connor, has got her writing group, and it's a writing group with a difference. They're all people who have survived cancer, and they have written a book, and they're putting their story into the book. They come from Wicklow and Wexford, and they're coming all the way up to Cavan next weekend to talk about their book, about the launch, and about their stories. So that'll be really, really, really interesting. Please do log on and watch. Well, that's it for me this week. Thanks for logging on and watching Cavan TV. You can watch us all over the world at any time on our new app. That's it. It's the weekend, and do take care.